Hello everyone, welcome to Arizona Bill Watch for another lively discussion of important and controversial bills. I am your host, Jose Borrajero. Thank you for watching. There is a lot going on at the Capitol these days, so stay tuned because we have a fantastic show for you today. But before we do that, some housekeeping items. Number one, we would love for you to watch the whole show from beginning to end. However, you may also fast forward to the bills of your choice by using the handy chart that we have placed down below. Secondly, if you like what you see, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. It means a lot to us. Third, it costs money to do what we do. So if you like what you see, you may contribute by going to our website, azpeopleslobbyist.com. So, with all that out of the way, let's look at the first bill. House Bill HB 2316. Short title, Private Universities, Arizona Teachers Academy. This bill was introduced by Representative Gress, and it's going to be heard in the House Commerce Committee on the 6th of February. This is a very simple bill. All it does is that it enables private institutions to participate in the Teachers Academy program, which is a good thing. Up to now, only public universities were allowed to participate. So this expands the area in which you can draw teachers from, and that's always a good thing. You have anything to add to that, Archie?
No, I think it's a good bill. I think it's a good idea. Originally, the legislature passed some time ago. They passed a bill creating the Arizona Teachers Academy, in which they paid part of the tuition and the funds for an individual graduating from high school to attend a public college to get a teaching credentials, and then once they got the teaching credentials, they had to commit to teaching in Arizona schools for a period of 2 years. Now, this doesn't touch that 2-year period, but it expands it and says now they can go to a private university as opposed to being limited to a public university. It also provides that if they start to attend the university, public or private, but they fail to complete it or to teach the 2 years, then they have to reimburse the academy fund for the cost that has been expended. Which
only makes sense if
which makes sense.
Right.
If you don't do what you're supposed to do, you have to give the money back.
Right.
I wish more government agencies would practice that.
Right.
Not a bad idea, yeah.
Yes. So I'm in agreement with this bill.
Yeah, we'll all say that this is a yes.
Yes.
House Bill HCR 2016. Short title, Right to Work Repeal. First of all, let me mention what an HCR bill is. An HCR bill is one that instead of going to the governor for a signature once it clears the legislature, it goes to the people to vote it up or down. So it bypasses the governor. And this was introduced by Representative De Los Santos, a Democrat. It has been assigned to the House Commerce Committee. However, it has not been scheduled for a committee yet. And we hope that it never will, because this is a horrible bill, because it does do away with the right to work status of the state of Arizona, meaning that if the unions want it, and they sure as hell would, if they want it, they could prevent people from working unless they're members of the union. Very, very, very bad. States that have this are horrible. And Arizona will be joining those bad states if we were to pass this.
And you're saying states that do not have the right to work are horrible, and I agree with you. And also, I don't know if people, with the unions, they take like 3.5% of your paycheck to pay for their unions. And unfortunately, the Democrats are so good at talking about that the right to work state is bad, because then it's not union.
Right, right. And if they only had, if the unions only did benefits, I wouldn't have a problem with them. My problem is that they use the dues to engage in political actions, which are not necessarily everyone's idea of what should be done. So you're contributing to a political campaign that it's against what you want to contribute for.
Right, and originally when unions were first set up, they were good. They actually did help the people, but then as it started going and going and going further, then it became more of a money machine.
Yeah.
In politics.
This is a simple, in my book, this is a simple no when it does come up for any kind of action. Hopefully it won't, but if it does, we really are requesting people, or I am really requesting people that contact their legislators and say, no, we don't want this.
Correct.
Well,
Archie?
I will go one step further and say that whether this is good or bad, and I think it's a terrible bill, I don't believe in making everything union controlled, which this bill will do. But the other thing that it does, which I am strongly against, is that it amends the Arizona Constitution.
Right.
It repeals Title 25 of the Arizona Constitution. And you should not mess around with amending your Constitution without giving it due consideration and lots of thought and consideration. And this is just something that should not be happening. We should not be amending our Constitution to do away with our right to work.
I agree.
We should not be amending the Constitution just by its simple majority of the mob.
Right.
Exactly.
That is stupid as can be, but that's the way it is, okay? Until we change that, well, then we have to deal with it. And the way to deal with it is to make sure that this bill does not get any farther than it has already.
Right.
House Bill HB 2700. Short title, Board Members Qualification Training Requirements. This bill is going to, well, it's already in the House Education Committee. However, it has not been assigned to a hearing just yet. They're waiting on the chairman of the committee to schedule a hearing for this bill, which I hope it never happens because this is a horrible bill. What it does is that it prohibits the members of the general public from being able to participate or to be parts of the school board, the school boards, and that is asinine. It requires that you have to be a member of the school establishment in order to be a member of the board, and so normal citizens will be barred from doing that. So, in my opinion, that is a very, very bad bill. Now, it has been, as I said, it has been assigned to a committee. Why, I don't know, but it has, and let's hope that it does not get any further than this. And I do recommend that you people contact your legislators and let him know this. So I don't know if you guys have anything to add.
I got a couple of things, but
Go ahead.
I don't want to take Gloria's spot in
Well,
case she has something to say.
You can, but I just am against this bill. I think that there's too much. I think you need, if you want to have a better oversight, you have to have people outside of the, what do you call it, outside of the establishment in order to be able to help make decisions on what's going on in our schools. We have such a problem right now with the school. And so anyway, I'm totally against this bill.
I think this bill is directed towards somebody specific that's a member of the school board. Everything that's written here tends to indicate to me that that's the case.
Interesting.
And it provides that, I don't know, I mean, you guys didn't mention it, but it says, if a person meets all of the following requirements,
Right.
then you can run to be a member of the school board. And you have to have at least 4 years of college education. You have to have experience as a paid employee with a public school budgets, school property, student health and safety, student achievement, open meeting law, conflicts of interest, fiduciary responsibilities, so on and so forth. But when you get way over to the back, it provides that if somebody is a member of the school board currently, they can finish their normal term. But they don't say what a normal term is. Does that mean that if I'm a member, I can then run for reelection without having to have all of this stuff done? But the thing that makes me think that it's designed for a specific individual is Section 3B. Says this section is repealed from and after December 31, 2018.
Yeah.
So what's the purpose of having it unless you're aiming for a specific individual?
Right.
Yeah, that happens a lot when naming a sunset time for the statute happens a lot when you're talking about renewing something, like renewing a commission or something of that nature. But when you're making law to rule something like this, then it doesn't make any sense to have a time for
Termination, yeah.
So,
no
yeah.
sunset clause, no,
So
no reason for it.
you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think, this is aimed at somebody specific, and for that reason,
Yep.
it's
Well-
not a good bill.
Well, for whether it is or not, it's a bad bill, no matter what angle you look at it from. So,
No, I agree with that, but to use your power as a member of the legislature to wind up aiming at a specific individual is not a good thing for a member of the legislature. They should consider resigning, in my humble opinion.
well, but look at who submitted the bill.
I know, but I don't know if you noticed this, but it says the sponsorship has changed since the bill was introduced.
Oh, no,
So I don't know who the sponsor is of it now.
I missed that one.
Yeah, I missed that too. But the other thing that I find interesting is they're talking about no conflicts of interest, but if you're an employee of the school, of whatever you are, but then you're going to be with public school budgets
Yeah, well,
and public school finance, so isn't that a conflict of interest?
Yes, here's the thing. It doesn't say that you have to guarantee that there will not be a conflict of interest. All it says is that you know that you have a conflict of interest. And they know it.
The legislature has no problem with conflict of
No,
interest.
they
Look at-
don't.
Let's not,
They don't.
let's not go there.
That could be a whole nother show.
Yes. Senate Bill SB 1352. Short title, ESA's Parental Notification Waived Right. This bill was introduced by Senator Marsh, a Democrat, and it is, or it has been assigned to the Senate Education, it has been assigned to the Education Committee. However, it has not been scheduled for a committee hearing just yet, and let's hope that it never does. What this bill does is that it says here, the department shall post on the department's website and include in each application packet a notice outlining each legal right that a qualified student and parent waive by enrolling in the Arizona Empowerment Scholarship Accounts Program. The question that I
All
had,
three of us have.
yeah, we all three of us have, what rights are they waiving? There's nothing mentioned there. So these are rights to be waived, to be announced.
Right.
So we're going to approve something, or if we agree with Senator Marsh, if we're going to approve something, and we don't know what those rights are that are being waived. Actually, I don't think that any rights are being waived by just being a member of the, but simply by participating in the ESA program.
Well, I mean, if you're going to participate in the ESA program and go to a private school or be homeschooled, I guess in a manner of speaking, you're waiving your right to go to a public school.
I wouldn't consider that much of a right.
I don't think.
Beside the point. And I don't know if you noticed, but the bill specifically provides that even though you're being homeschooled, you still have the right to go and play intramural sports at the public school. I don't know. Maybe that's a
So
right.
maybe that's the right.
Maybe that's a right you're going to be waiving.
Yeah.
I don't know, but to me, having somebody tell me, I'm going to tell you sometime in the future what rights you're giving up is kind of like telling you, leaving a blank space, and I'm going to tell you sometime in the future how much money I'm going to cost.
Well, this is just one
This
more
is
salvo
nonsense.
in the war against ESAs that the Democrats are conducting.
Right.
Correct,
So let's hope that there's enough pressure on the Education Committee chairman so that this bill doesn't get any farther than it has so far.
Right.
And you people out there, you have a choice. You can contact your legislators and tell them that this is not a good bill, if that's the way you feel. Senate Bill 1399. Short title, ESA's Qualified Schools Requirement Reporting. This bill has been sent to the Education Committee, but it has not been it has not been scheduled for a committee hearing yet. It was introduced by Senator Epstein, and it places a whole slew of regulations on participants in the ESA program. These regulations far exceed anything that they require of the district schools, and it's aimed specifically to be part of the war on ESAs that the Democrats have been waging for some time now. They're aiming at making it so difficult for schools to participate that they choose not to. That's my opinion anyway.
Do you mind if I go first?
No, you go ahead.
So what I have to say to that is, first of all, our school, we rank 45th in the nation for our education. Our school system is not good. Our kids can't read. And what I got from this bill is, as you said, they want to put even more stricter regulations on the private schools and how you choose to teach your child. And I lost my train of thought. But anyway, so
But the whole idea for people to leave the public school to go to someplace else is because they're not doing a good job. Quite honestly, the few schools that are actually doing a good job, the kids are not leaving. The parents don't want them to leave.
right.
Okay, so it is the bad schools that are causing people to move, and those are precisely the schools that this group of people, a group of Democrats, is trying to perpetuate.
Right, and it's all to protect the children. And every time they protect the children and the government gets involved, it gets worse and worse.
This is a 41-page complex bill, and in reading it and reading the amendments to it, it would appear that its sole purpose is to kill empowerment scholarships.
It is.
Well, it is. That's the whole idea.
Well,
Yes.
I understand that, and I understand that Governor Hobbs, that's what Governor Hobbs wants to do. She says that empowerment scholarships is going to bankrupt the state of Arizona. But if you read this bill and you read the amendments to it, they keep referring to qualified schools and qualified students. Well, if they're qualified, then why do we need this bill and this amendment to make them unqualified?
Right.
So it seems like it's kind of at cross purposes with itself. And if they're qualified, then they're qualified. And stop taking it away from them and stop trying to kill the empowerment scholarships. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but, you know, a lot of these schools which have a minority enrollment in them really need the empowerment scholarships.
Right.
That's where their best benefits are going to come, is from the minority attended schools, to give them a better shot at a better education. And why the governor and why the Democrats would want to kill that, I don't have the faintest idea.
Well, because
it's a bad bill.
They say that the money is being misused, that people are buying boats and taking vacations and everything. And to be honest, when I first started reading, because it's a huge, and just looking over it, I was kind of going, well, I understand this and I understand this. And I understand that if you have the ESAs, there should probably be, and I'm not real familiar with how they regulate or how they watch it, but the money that is going to the parents for okay, so with that, there probably should be. But when you take the overall bill into consideration, it does not protect the student. It does not protect anybody. And the best person to put in the hands of education is the parent.
Okay, and so we are pretty solid in that this should be a no. So make sure you contact if you agree with us, contact your legislators and let them know that we should not be killing the ESA program. House Bill HB 2325. The short title of it is Backyard Fowl Regulation Prohibition. It has been assigned to the House Land, Agriculture, and Rural Affairs Committee, and it will be heard on the 5th of February. It was introduced by Representative Payne, and actually, this bill is not as irrelevant and amusing as it might seem at first. I mean, we're dealing with a foul, in a city situation. Don't they have something better to do at the legislature than to deal with this? Well, actually, there are some implications of this bill which I think are good. Basically, it's a matter of property rights. As long as you're not hurting your neighbor, there's no reason why there should be any kind of regulation that prohibits you from doing what you want to do. And this bill does just that as long as you follow certain rules and that you don't disturb your neighbors, it's perfectly okay for you to raise chickens and lay eggs and do whatever. So, any of you guys have a different opinion, or do you concur with that?
I don't know if you've noticed, but you can't have a rooster because they don't want the rooster crowing in the morning and disturbing your neighbors. And it also, I don't know if you noticed too, it says that the city or the county or the county cannot restrict you from having chickens in your backyard if your lot size is less than a half an acre. All right. So if you've got a 5,000 square foot lot and you've got a 4,000 square foot house sitting on that lot, you can still have your 6 hens in the backyard laying eggs, but they want to be careful because they don't want you producing your own eggs, so you don't have to go to the grocery store to buy them at an exorbitant price.
Well, the red flag also for me was the property rights of property owners in this state are of statewide concern.
Well,
it is.
They are.
And
Yeah, and that's exactly what this bill does. Really, it's just a matter of saying, you can do whatever you want as long as you don't disturb somebody else.
yeah.
Well, apparently
Which everybody's always
Mr.
disturbed.
Payne has a neighbor that
As a rooster?
has complained about his chickens in his backyard.
House Bill HB 2276, State Militia, Governor Active Duty. This bill is going to be in the House Military Affairs and Public Safety Committee to be heard on the 5th of February. And basically it was introduced by Representative Biasuki. What it does is that it enables the governor to call into active duty members of the state militia to assume a variety of military and law enforcement duties. Now, when I saw that, I automatically assumed that they were talking about the the State Guard, okay? And then I looked at the Constitution for the definition of militia. And Gloria, you did the same, didn't you? Mm-hmm. What did you find?
So Article 16, Section 1 The composition of the militia is the militia of the state of Arizona shall consist of all capable citizens of the state between the ages of 18 and 45 years, and of those between said ages who shall have declared their intention to become citizens of the United States, residing therein, subject to such exemptions as now exist or as may hereafter be created by the laws of the United States or of this state.
In other words, with some exceptions, the militia is all the able-bodied people in the state. So when they say militia, I guess they're talking about everyone. And so I don't quite understand what this bill is all about. Maybe there is a very good reason why you want to give the governor this added, or what appears to be an added power. I'm assuming that she doesn't have that power now, otherwise the bill would not do it. But then again, you never know with these bills. So Archie, do you have anything to add to that?
Sure, it's really kind of comical, actually. You see, the governor could call up the militia consisting of all of the people who are in the state illegally and send them to the border to stop illegals from coming into this.
As long as they show their intention to become citizens.
Exactly.
Well, what do you think they came across the border for?
That's
a demonstration
Folks,
of intent.
If this administration weren't so sad,
so transparent.
so bad, and then why is a Republican playing to this? Okay, I mean, because this was introduced by a Republican representative, and to me it doesn't make any sense. So I'm a no on that. How about you guys?
I don't know.
No, I think the wording needs to be a little clearer on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Send it back to Legislative Council and let them figure it out.
Yeah.
So I'll go with that. All three no's.
House Bill HB 2352, short title, Ballot Measure Amendments. This has been assigned to the House Municipal Oversight and Elections Committee, but it has not been scheduled for a committee hearing yet. It was introduced by Representative Stoll Hamilton, and it's a good thing that it has not been scheduled for a committee hearing yet, because this is not a very good bill. What it does is that it enables or enacts the Attorney General to kill any kind of either initiative or referendum, regardless of whether it comes from the legislature or the citizens, as being unconstitutional. And then the way to limit upon the opinion of the AG is limited via this bill. So overall, it's not something that we really want to mess with. Most of the time, the reason why you would want any kind of initiative or referendum is for the people to decide, as opposed to having the government decide what to do or what not to do. So anything that impedes that, it's not a good thing, in my opinion. So how about you guys?
Go ahead, Archie.
Want me to go ahead?
I'll let you go ahead.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Well, understand that we passed a law that says whenever a private citizen introduces an initiative, then the introduction to that initiative has to explain what the purpose of the initiative is, and it has to be in descriptive words. So that portion of the initiative then has to go to the Attorney General for the Attorney General to make a determination as to whether or not it meets code sections and whether or not it is constitutional or unconstitutional. If the Attorney General determines that it doesn't meet the requirements, then the Attorney General has the right then to send out a notice so that that descriptive provision can be corrected. Or if the person introducing it thinks that it meets the standards, then they can challenge it. So, but if the Attorney General determines that it meets the standards, then you can't challenge the Attorney General's decision. Seems like a whole lot of words to say nothing that is probably the way that it works anyway. So,
Yeah, but this bill goes beyond the title. It goes to the whole language of the measure, does it not?
well, I didn't get that impression from reading the bill. I thought it only dealt with the descriptive language that you have to put in the introduction of the.
Okay, well, then that was my mistake then. Well, go ahead.
Well, and as, like, if I'm understanding that this is giving, what you were saying, that it can be challenged the one way but not the other way if the AG determines that it's not constitutional, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so in my opinion, it should go back either way. And in the intent, what I find interesting is it says, it is the intent of the legislature to restore some of the rights of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what that means by some of the rights? By saying, well, if we agree with it, then it can be challenged, but if we don't agree with it, it can't be challenged?
No, I think there's other rights that have been done away with. But I mean, you pointed out something that's high on my want list. This bill contains a legislative intent
Right.
provision.
Right.
And we haven't even talked about that so far in this session. And all bills should contain a legislative intent. In my opinion, this is a superfluous bill. It doesn't accomplish anything.
Correct.
Other than the legislative intent. And that's good training for the person who drafted the bill.
All right, so I guess we're in agreement that this is not a very good bill.
Right.
Senate Bill 1131. Short title, Low Voter Turnout, Elections Repeat. And this bill is going to be heard in the Senate Elections Committee on the 5th of February. Basically, what this bill does is to establish a quorum for passing legislation or to enact ordinances, city ordinances, and so on. And it is my impression that it is specifically aimed at elections at which the community or the government in the community or somebody chooses to have the election on a date when they know that there's going to be very few people turning out, so that their buddies have a lot more weight when it comes to passing or rejecting whatever the thing was. And so here it tells us that unless 25% of the people show up, and there's other exceptions as well, but basically if it's 25%, if fewer than 25% of the eligible voters show up, that you should redo the election when there are other elections that would draw people to it. So as far as that goes, I think it's a good thing. But Archie, you may have a different opinion. I don't know.
Well, I don't know that I've necessarily got a different opinion, but I wonder why they accept offices for statewide and federal elections where we're voting for candidates. It seemed to me like, if you can't pass a proposition where you can't have photo cameras giving out traffic tickets, it seems to me like, unless you've got 25% of the voters, it seems to me like you should have to have at least 25% of the voters to elect a president.
Right, but well, there are two things about that. Number one is that it's very unlikely that you would have quite a low, that low of a turnout for a presidential election. Number two is that is precisely the remedy for this. In other words, what it says in the bill is that if you have one of those low turnout elections, then you move it to a time when there is other major elections, because that's the time when people do show up. So it's what you're describing, the scenario that you're describing there is extremely rare.
So this is more for for local and city elections.
Right.
Because it does not apply to state and federal elections. Just
No,
letting everybody know.
and it doesn't apply to elections that are concurrent with state and federal elections.
Well, but I mean, we were discussing earlier about a bill on an initiative. If you have an initiative that comes up to amend the Constitution, and you only have 24.999% of the voters voting, and they vote to defeat the initiative or to pass the initiative, then it don't count under this bill, right?
Well, it does count if you had a federal election as well. If it happens, let's say in 2024 when we're choosing a president and so on, that does not apply there because presumably people are going to show up for the presidential election.
I understand.
So presumably you're not going to have fewer than 25% of the population show up to vote.
So I guess after our discussion here, then the one thing that we can agree on is that the provisions are confusing.
Well, if that were unique.
I was confused, so.
If that were unique to this bill, we would have something to say, something to talk about. Folks, confusing bills are the norm, okay? So the fact that Arch is confused, and I am confused, and Gloria is confused, par for the course. But do read the bill and do react to it. If you like it, let your legislators know that you like it. If you don't like it, make your voice heard. Regardless of what Arch and Gloria and I have to say.
Oh, no, just listen to me.
With that being said, I believe all no on this. Or are we? Or no, you are a yes.
I am kind of, the way this thing is worded and the way it works, but I can see the point, and the point is a good point, because we have a situation where municipalities and school boards and so on schedule elections at a time when they purposely make it so that it's likely that you would have a very low turnout. That way, when they have all their buddies show up, it makes a difference as opposed to when they have a whole bunch of people that could be for or against, but most likely are against. So in that sense, it's good, but it has some drawbacks, so I'm kind of in the middle there.
In the middle.
Almost every bill has some good points. Yeah.
Are you in the middle or are you?
No, I'm not in the middle.
You're a yes or a no?
No, I'm a no.
A no. Okay, me too.
All right. So I am close to a no. It's just, Senate Bill 1286. Short title, Elections, Voting Centers, Polling Places. This bill is going to be heard in the Senate Elections Committee on the 5th of February, and it was introduced by Senator Hoffman. And very basically, what this mandates is that on election day, that you have a school holiday so that you do not have the regular school activity going on while you're trying to have an election. And the reason for that is to provide enough venues so that you can have polling places close enough to where people live. So you don't have the excuse that, well, we don't have enough places and so on and so forth. So in that sense, I like and it also mentions that the principal of the school cannot deny the elections people the use of the school facility for holding the election. So in considering those two things, I'm in favor of the bill. However, Gloria, you may have a different opinion.
Right, but I want to hear what Archie says because I want to see if you say what I was thinking.
Oh, I won't be saying what you're thinking. I'm pretty sure of that, because we haven't talked about it.
Right.
Yeah. But this bill appears to make Election Day a holiday, except that teachers and all school personnel have to work. So if it's a holiday, then shouldn't they be off work? And if they can't be off work, then maybe it shouldn't be a holiday. That's in addition to the fact that we already have a law that gives everybody the right to have, I think it's a minimum of 3 hours off to go vote. So there must be some other purpose to this, and the purpose appears later on.
I told you what the purpose is.
I know, and I'm getting to that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
The purpose to that otherwise appears to be that we're now going to make the schools make their facilities available for polling places. Well, if you're still going to have people working there, then are you going to be interfering with that? And if they really need a place to have a polling place, they can use my backyard. I don't, I think they're going way overboard on this, and I don't think they need. There's lots of places around that they can use for polling places.
Well, that's just the problem with the objection to having precinct type or neighborhood type voting places is that they say, look, we can't afford or we can't have places that are willing to let us do the polling. So what this does, it says, okay, we're going to eliminate that problem because now, by law, the school has to allow us to be in there to do the polling. Now, as to the people they are working, it's quite one thing to have people, say, working inside their offices and so on, as opposed to having kids running all over the place. So the fact that it's a school holiday, as far as the students is concerned, it's a good thing in terms of meeting the requirements of the venue. And the fact that the teachers still have to work, that really should not be a problem.
Well,
And I agree with all of that, but to me, the biggest thing is that this is also wanting to take away, because there has been talk about it, precinct voting.
well, we covered a bill earlier today, and there's other bills that are out there, but there are provisions out here, the bills that have been introduced, which establishes the right of the person in charge of elections, whether that's the Board of Supervisors or, in our case, the county recorder's office, under a contract with the Board of Supervisors, can establish voting facilities. And it makes a provision. There are bills out there that say, well, you can establish a voting center in which anyone in the county can go and
Right.
vote. But those voting centers cannot they have to be in addition to a polling place within the precinct.
Anywhere in the county is allowed to receive the appropriate ballot for that specific voter, and may also use polling places located in election district.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to have two different places. So I mean, we're getting carried away. I mean, this bill may, in all actuality, be a good bill, but whenever you've got conflicts with this bill with other bills,
Right.
you're saying, okay, you can have a voting center, but that can't be. It has to be in addition to the one in the precinct. And then, of course, we can have it in the school district, but the school district may not be within each individual precinct.
Right.
So, I mean, we got all kinds of confusion here, and I think our legislature and our legislative council need to get their act together and figure this out. This is this is just a whole bunch more verbiage that we really don't need in our code sections. We really don't need it.
And so I say this is a no.
Okay. So you guys say it's a no, I say it's a yes.
Okay.
This brings to an end this week's edition of Arizona Bill Watch. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw, please make sure you tell your friends, relatives, and anyone else you know. And make sure you tune in next week for another fantastic edition of Arizona Bill Watch.